Hey, it's great to be with you this morning. And when I come to Living Word, the first thing I want to say to you is thank you. We're in our 19th year of ministry. This church has been a part of it since the very beginning in many, many ways. Let me tell you a couple. One of the things you host, this is the church home for one of the most important people at the Joy House, and that's Pam. And Pam is, I know you love her, but I've told Pam's the first. I've told her she's the voice and the face of the Joy House because when hurting people call, she's the first person they talk to, and she does a terrific job at that, along with so many other things. But aside from that, let me tell you a couple other ways. Number one, you partner with us monthly and give to the ministry, which is so important. You're also home to Eileen and Daryl, who have been a very important part. Eileen has served my board. We used to fill this room with barbecue. And do big fundraisers out of this building, and you also provide a home for us many times for our graduations when our kids finish. And, hey, I'm excited about what God is doing here. Pastor Mark, thank you. Thank you for what you've brought here to Living Word and what God is doing here in the community and how He's using you guys. I'm grateful for you. Because, you know what? Let me tell you something. I'm a big believer in the local church. I'm not a church. The Joy House is a servant to the church. And that's why we are. We're doing something, providing a service that the church can't provide, but we're a servant to the church. That's why I don't have church meetings at the Joy House. My house parents are involved in local churches as well as I am because I believe in the local church. That's how Christ set it up. So I'm a big believer in the local church. Hey, so there may be somebody here that maybe you don't know much about the Joy House. Most people here do, but let me just do that briefly. So we're providing Christ-centered restorative care for struggling teens, families, and individuals. We do that two ways. We started out, it's our residential program for teenagers. That's the homes you've seen. That's how we started 19-plus years ago or 18-plus years ago. We've done that faithfully. But then in 2012, we launched a counseling center where we provide Christ-centered counseling. And not just in Pickens County. We have an office in Cherokee, and we have an office in Ellijay. And I may share a little bit more about that. But let me just share you, this is the best thing I can ever do when I go somewhere. About 3 weeks ago, I got this email. These are the best emails. So let me share this. This is from a former resident, and he sent me an email unsolicited. I didn't solicit this. Let me read what it says. This is a local kid. He said, "Hi, Steve. I wanted to just hop on here and let you know how I've been. Since graduating from the Joy House in March 2016, I transferred to Pickens High to finish my freshman year. I was inducted into the National Beta Association and am an active director for the Human Rights Campaign. I am currently a senior finishing this semester. I am graduating with honors and am attending Chattahoochee Tech for core classes and then transferring to Georgia State University to pursue my Bachelor's of Arts in Spanish. After my graduation from college, I will be traveling to Guanajuato, Mexico for 3 months to teach children English as a second language. My relationship with my dad has strengthened, and as time goes on and with the principles I was taught at the Joy House, I was able to start a relationship with my stepmom. I currently work here in Jasper at a local restaurant as the assistant store manager and have been here for almost 2 years now. I currently am not involved in a church as I am still searching for the right ministry. I usually attend Woodstock or watch online seminars at home early Sunday mornings. I have looked on the website and I see there are many needs for the homes. I would love to buy some items and come by and drop some off." Guys, you don't just give money to the Joy House, you're making an investment. So the investment you make as a church, the fruit of your investment is changed lives. That's what this is. That's where your money goes. So that's what you do. So two other quick things I want to tell you, because so many people miss this. I want to make sure people get this. The counseling center is not just for teens and families. We do a lot of teens and families because who the Joy House has been. But we do marriage counseling. We do anxiety, depression. We do 7 to 70. Whatever issue, we do a lot of spiritual life issues. I've got 3 great counselors now. And one thing that we started, we got a young lady working for us now. We knew she had a gift for counseling. And so end of last year, she started counseling teenage girls and young adult women if they've got issues that they need to address. So just know that's available. Just so you know, last year through the counseling center, record numbers, we ministered to 250 different individuals or families through the counseling center. That is mainly Cherokee, Pickens, and Gilmer counties is where most of those people were from. And then and just so you know, in the residential program, we serve a lot of Pickens kids, but the Joy House is not just a Pickens ministry. If you drew a circle about 60 miles out around Jasper, we've served communities, we've served families from every county in that circle. So it's really a regional ministry, but Pickens County is our home, and we serve a lot of folks from Pickens County, and a lot of our resources come from Pickens County. Everything you've seen on that video is paid for. We don't go in debt for anything. And God has blessed us. We just don't have debt. That's the way God led me to do it, and God's people have given to make that happen. The other thing we don't do, all of our services are provided based on ability to pay. I made a commitment to the Lord that we'd never reject anybody because of money. So I don't even talk to families about money until I know if we can help them, and then we talk about the money, and we say we'll figure it out. We do think it's important they pay something, but we want it to be something they can afford to pay. And I can't tell you how many phone calls both Pam takes and Abby in our counseling center, where when we tell them about the money, many times the response is to cry and say, I couldn't get help anywhere else. That can only happen because of people like you that make us available to do that. So the last couple things I want to say, hey, we've been in a capital campaign to build a new girls' home. Let me tell you where I'm at right now. Our girls' home is full, and Pam, in the last 3 weeks, we've taken 5 or 6 other calls. We've got other people waiting. That's the position I found myself in for the last 4 years. Sometime during the year, we're full of girls, and we can't get more in at that moment. That's why we're trying to build a second girls' home. So here's where we're at on that. I need to get to about $600,000 to build the home. We're at about $330,000 right now, but I've already got a commitment for another $50,000, and I'm meeting with some of our donors right now to try to get that moved forward to $250,000. But the other thing I've done the last few weeks, we've got these cool little houses right here. You've seen them before for other things. This is the Joy House house. So I've been going out speaking to some churches, and what we're doing is we're saying, fill a house to build a house. So outside here, as you leave, we've put a date on it for like a month. Pam's going to kind of be the point person here. But if you'll pick one of these up on the way out and over the next month, fill it with change, or you can drop a check in there, whatever you want to do. But if you'll fill this house and bring it back, that'll be a way that Living Word can participate in helping build that house. Everything that comes back in these, we're putting towards that capital campaign. So if you'd love to pick one of these up, that'd be awesome. And the other thing I'd ask you, pray for us, guys. I need God to move. My goal is to get to that 600,000 mark by June 30th. So I would covet your prayers that God opens the door for that to happen, because I'm tired of having to not be able to help more girls. I'd love to be able to open another home, and my goal would be to start building that home the second half of the year if we can get to that number. The other thing that does for me is it opens up. There's a large foundation in Atlanta that has told me that they will come in. If I can get to the 600,000 mark, they'll come in and probably do something else, because we've got some other things we're doing beyond building the girls' home that we want to do to move the ministry forward. So, again, I'll be out here after the service. There's some stuff on the table. If you don't get our e-news that we send out once a month and you'd like to, you can sign up for that and then stop by and see me. We got literature. I'd love to see you. But, again, as I finish, thank you so much. Thanks for partnering with us and helping us make a difference in the lives that we get to minister with. So thank you so much.
So, again, Steve's going to be out front at the end of the service, out in the lobby. If you guys want to pick up a house, don't hear that much in church, do you? Pick up a house. So you can pick up a house. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and share with you my message. And my message is on retreat. Retreat, retreat. Don't you love that picture? Isn't that an awesome picture? It's not me, by the way. It might be Daryl. I'm not sure. But Brian Schmidt or somebody got that bear chasing him. I don't know and it has nothing to do with anything. I just thought it was a cool picture. I thought it was funny to think, man, that dude is in full retreat, ain't he? Sometimes we need to be in retreat. But the thing about retreat is, in battle, when you hear the word retreat, negative things come up. In the church, when we think retreat, we have all kinds of pictures that come into our minds. Women's retreat. Donna's planning the women's retreat, or a men's retreat, or this, youth retreat, or whatever. Go away for the weekend and have a good time and whatever. But in military, the word retreat makes us think of loss. You're losing. You're losing the battle. You better run away, like the dude running from the bear. Things are bad and you can't win. There's no way. But honestly, in some ways, in some cases, retreat is what leads to victory. In Joshua chapter 8, we read the story of Joshua and his men. It says, Joshua and all the fighting men arose to go up to Ai, and Joshua chose 30,000 mighty men of valor and sent them out by night. He commanded them, behold, you shall lie in ambush against the city behind it. Do not go very far from the city, but all of you remain ready. And I and all the people who are with me will approach the city. And when they come out against us, just as before, we shall flee before them. We will retreat. And they will come out after us until we have drawn them away from the city, for they will say, they are fleeing from us, just as before. So we will flee before them. Then you shall rise up from the ambush and seize the city, for the Lord your God will give it into your hand. This is a biblical case where retreat, or what seemed to be retreat, actually led to victory. If you know the story, they had already tried one time and lost terribly. It was because they'd had sin. One guy went in there and stole some stuff he shouldn't have taken, and the Lord came against them, and they lost. And so they went back again, and these guys were thinking the same thing. Y'all come back for more? Bring it on. We're going to do it. And then they start running away, and that actually led to their victory. Some of you are not getting the picture yet. Sometimes you need to step back from the battle for God to send you back into the battle. Sometimes you need to step back, maybe just for a short time, to get ready for the next battle. Who knows there's a battle going on? There's definitely a battle going on. So the military now, they've changed the word, their defining of the word retreat to change from retreat to strategic withdrawal. Strategic withdrawal. In other words, we're going to pull back, but there's a plan. We're not just scared and running away. We got a plan. It might look like we're running away. It might look like we're stepping away from the battle, and you might think you got us, but we're fixing to go right back into that battle with more than we ever had before. I'm going to tell you something. For some of you, you might feel like Satan has whipped you and beat you down and destroyed your family and caused so much trouble in your family. But if you'd step back for a minute and let God just pour into you what He wants to pour into you, and He sends you back into the battle, the devil don't have a chance. He don't have a chance against the people of God. And I believe that. One person believes that in here other than me. But you got to be honest. There are reasons for retreat. There are reasons that you should pull away sometimes. Sometimes you need to let wounds heal. You've been in a battle, man. You've been down that road and been beat up, and you just need to heal. You just need to get a little bit of, take a breath, right? We're so busy, aren't we? Just so busy. There's always stuff going on, and there's always somebody wanting more from you, and there's always something going on. But sometimes we just need to take a break. I heard this statement about talking about retreat, that it's an extended time to spend with God. An extended time to spend with God. It's not just taking time off to veg or lay on the couch or take naps. It's an extended time to spend with God and God alone. Exodus chapter 20 says, remember the Sabbath day, keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but on 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall do no work, not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. You know, in their context, they couldn't understand that because this was pre-refrigeration. If you didn't work, you didn't eat. You didn't just get a bunch of stuff together during the week and make it for a while. You had to work constantly. They just couldn't understand it. But God was trying to teach them a couple things. I think the main thing God was trying to teach them, a couple things really. First of all, you need to rest. Sometimes you just need to rest. But the main thing He was trying to teach them is, you can trust me. You can trust me. I know it doesn't make sense sometimes, but you can trust me. When I'm telling you you need to take a rest, you need to take a rest. But be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself about your level of exhaustion, your level of depletion. Be honest about your level of distraction. When was the last time that you really heard from the Lord? I mean, really, you knew beyond the shadow of a doubt, this is God speaking to me. Has it been a while? Has it ever happened? But maybe it's been a while, and it could be that you're just so busy and so tired. You know, when Moses was talking to the children of Israel and trying to tell them, look, God wants to take us into this promised land, the scripture says that they had been so discouraged for so long that they couldn't even hear him. Their discouragement had lasted so long, they just couldn't even hear him say words of encouragement. Some of you are that way. Some of you have just been so discouraged for so long. When something good happens or God tries to speak a good word to you, you just can't hear it. We've got to be willing to get disconnected. Now, my children are all grown now, have children of their own, but they remember when there were no cell phones, that they had to come home to talk on the phone. They had to go to the phone, pick it up, stand right there, talk on the phone, right? But when that generation passes away, there will never be a generation that never knew what it was like to be connected all the time. Isn't that amazing to think that when that generation's gone, there will not be any children, kids now, listen, teenagers, you guys don't even know what it's like to not have a phone in your pocket. I mean, it's just, we're always connected. We're always connected. But there's times when we need to get away. Mark 6, Jesus modeled this for us. He said to them, come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while. For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. They had done a bunch of ministry, and Jesus says, listen, you got to refuel. You got to get away. And Jesus always modeled what we should do. Any time before he did ministry, he got alone with his Father. He rested, took time just to sit down with his daddy and hear what he had to say, be replenished. And then after ministry, same thing. He would go by himself with his daddy, spend time with him. It wasn't just to rest and take naps. It was so I need to have no distractions to hear what God the Father is saying to me. And we need to do that. If Jesus had to do it, right? Come on. Matthew 14, it says, immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side. And while he dismissed the crowds, and after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. Listen, retreat is not just being lazy. It's an active thing. Yeah, you might unplug from the phone and stuff like that, but you need to spend that time actively seeking God, listening to what he has to say to you. I think it was about 7 years ago now, I had a major blowout in my back. My L4, L5 vertebrae ruptured. It ruptured. I mean, it exploded. It didn't just rupture. It exploded to where it looked like a waterfall on the MRI of the stuff coming out of it was crazy. And I was on my back in my floor for 12 weeks. Well, a good 6 weeks before surgery. Couldn't move. I couldn't move. My legs started going numb. Wasn't working. I was working from home. Let me tell you something. I did not realize how stressed out I was until I had to lay there and do nothing for 6 weeks. I didn't even know it. I wasn't even aware. I just thought, I'm just operating on, I'm go, man. I do good under pressure, you know, and I was a general manager at a plant back then and pastoring a church at the same time. What was I thinking? And I'm talking about busy, like you've never seen busy. But I handled it well. I did good, man. I can make decisions like that and do that and whatever. But I was so stressed that God says, if you're not going to take a break, I will put you down. And after about 6 weeks, I realized the stress just came off of me. I didn't even know it. Until it was gone, I didn't even know it. And some of you could be like that. You don't even know how stressed you are. You don't know how bad you need a break. Dallas Willard says this, if we don't come apart for a while, we will come apart after a while. If we don't come apart for a while, we will come apart after a while. Listen, you've got to take a break. Sometimes you need to step back from the battle to be able to go back into it. Some of you need to relinquish some things. You need to surrender to God, which is just giving up. Voluntarily cease to give up or claim. And here's 6 things I want to tell you real quick, and then we're going to do baptisms. First thing is you need to give up control. Now, I said in the early service, I've never met anybody in my whole life that says or admits that they're controlling. Never. I don't know about you, Steve. I've never met a person that says, I'm controlling. Nobody. But yet you know controlling people, don't you? That's right. 1 out of 2 people are controlling. So look to the person next to your left and the person to your right. And if neither one of them is controlling, I think you may be getting the picture. You just need to give up control. It's not going to matter. You're probably not going to change the situation a whole lot anyway, and then you don't have to have the stress. I'm going to move on from that. It's getting a little tense in here. The next thing is you need to delegate. There are things that you do better than anybody else. There's no doubt about that. Things you do better than anybody else. But there are things that you need to let other people do, even if they don't do it quite as good as you do. Listen, for people in ministry, we are the worst because we know how we want it to be. It's got to be this way. It's got to be perfect, and they can't do it, so I'll just do it myself. I'm telling you, I'm almost 57 years old. I've had to learn this the hard way. Sometimes I just have to walk by stuff that needs to be done, just go, nope, 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 nope. Not going to do it. I'm just telling you. You got to be able to do that. Delegate, even if it's not as good as you would do it. Third thing is don't fix everything. Don't fix everything. That's really hard, isn't it? But sometimes things just need to stay broken. Maybe there's somebody in your life. Listen, parents, I want to tell you something. You have parents have teenage kids. I want to tell you something from a guy that's raised 3 teenagers. And I'm not saying I did it all right. But there are times when your teenagers just need to pay the penalty. They need to pay the price. They just need to go through some stuff. And if you just rescue them every time, you are not teaching them. You are enabling them. I bet Steve could come up here and say, you know what, that's probably 90% of why the Joy House stays full is because parents do not raise their children, they enable them. I want to tell you something. You are not raising children. You're not raising children. Get that thought out of your mind. You're not raising children. You're raising adults. You're raising adults. You want to raise them up to be successful adults that one day when God says, what did you do with them? Look, I raised them up to be a godly adult. You got to teach them. You got to model that, but you got to let them do it. And sometimes you got to let them fail. Sometimes you just got to let them fail. And sometimes, ladies, you just got to let your husband go the wrong direction. I know he has no clue where he is going. And you need to tell him, go this way or go that way. We're going the wrong way. It's going to take longer, but you need to just let him go the wrong way. I'm just saying. Come on, men. Don't fix everything. All right. Pay attention to the tension. Sometimes there's tension in organizations and in families and whatever, and you need to pay attention to that. I'm not saying panic, but pay attention to it. Why is that tension there? Pay attention to that. And the tension in your body. You need to pay it. Your body will tell you when something's wrong. It really will. Pay attention to that. Next thing is you need to read and journal. We just got through a 21-day of reading the Bible, and a lot of folks just started. That's been their first time they've really done it that long, and now it's a habit. You need to do that. You just need to read, and I believe you need to journal. Write down some notes of things that God's doing and speaking to you in your life. And then the last thing is you need to wait before you make a decision, primarily a big decision that has to do with debt. Somebody says to you, you got to do this today, or there's no other day but today, the decision's got to be made today, then my answer is no. If it's got to be decided today, then no. It can wait, or it's not going to happen. Hebrews 4:9-11 says, there remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest so that no one will perish by following the example of disobedience. Remember Exodus 20? The Sabbath, it's a command. It's not rules for happy living. It's a command. We are commanded to take a Sabbath rest. And that doesn't mean you don't go to church. I don't understand this, and if if you know people like this, or I just don't get it when people say, well, Sunday's my only day to rest. What better rest is there than being in the house of God with God's people? And listen, I know teenagers and young adults and people, and I've had to do it too, that have to work on Sundays sometimes, and then Christian people just beat them over the head saying, well, you're not honoring the Sabbath. Listen, a teenager doesn't have a whole lot of choices but to work on the weekend. Cut them some slack. Isn't that what grace is all about? Give them a break. Paul talks about, you honor one day over the other, whatever, but you just need to take a day every week that you're not working. Maybe you have to do it short term or something, but it doesn't need to be a habit. You got to be able to take a day a week to where you just unplug and spend time with your daddy. And that's what he wants. Listen, a retreat, a rest is just a generous investment in your relationship with God. It's a generous investment in your relationship with God. Would you guys stand? We're going to sing a song of worship while some folks go out to get changed for baptisms. And then we're going to come back in here and baptize some folks. So if you're getting baptized. If you want to go change, now's the time to do that. We'll have some people, be helping bring you back in the side door over here. And I want to ask you guys to stay with us, because there's no bigger celebration than a changed life for Jesus Christ. Now, as they go out, I need to ask you a favor. When they come back in and we start baptizing people, this needs to be the loudest place